Oh, Mandy, that was playing, and as it's going, and I'm remembering how calm we used to start these streams, you and I. And I'm like, I don't know if that was the right tone. 'Cause, like, I'm in the chat
I'm
going, get a seatbelt, people. Like, buckle up, buttercups. Like, it's
I'm
Dauber
kind of
time.
calm, actually.
I'm calm, but I know it's going to be a little, hmm, it's going to be a little soapboxy for me because, damn, that woman. But anyway, welcome, Mandy, back. It's been many, many, many months.
Too
Although
long,
it's
yes.
been too long for up here, but we've been twittering. They can, we pass stuff back and forth, but something recently caught both of our eyes, didn't it? The the
That's yeah, and sometimes it's one of those things where you say to yourself, when is there going to be a resolution? When is there going to be a resolution
yes,
to, this sort of behavior? When is there going to be a resolution to this case? And things just seem to go so slow. And then
so
you see something 6 months, 7 months later,
mhm,
and you're like, wow, all of
mhm,
that effort, all of that energy
mhm,
is actually starting to show from,
mhm,
a large majority or group of people that have come together for a specific person,
mhm,
or excuse me, for a specific reason. And
mhm.
so to see this about the
For
lovely
r-
Michelle
yeah,
Dauber,
to see her get dragged into it as exhibit A.
because
Let's just lay it out there. This is exactly about Michelle Dauber being exhibit A for a Title IX complaint.
right,
Okay, that was filed in the beginning of this year. And a Title IX is actually discrimination. It's discrimination in federal funding and education and all that other stuff. It's discrimination complaints. Okay, in this particular one is against Stanford University in platforming Michelle Dauber and creating the environment that made that beast allowed her to do what she was doing. Um, it's rich. And I know you and I come from it from a long history dealing with her many, 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 well, let's just say years dealing with her in regards to Amber Heard and Johnny Depp, the
hmm
and the Me Too issue. Um, in the beginning, neither one of us had an issue with Me Too, did we? Mm.
no, goodness,
Oh,
no,
no, I applauded the legislation. I even applauded Evan Rachel Wood's speech to Congress that got changed on in how she affected the statute of limitations all over the country for survivors of abuse. Okay. I applauded all that stuff until, and this is the problem, it turns into a us versus them. Believe me at no cost, at cost to your own common sense. Uh, Gotta bash the other guy into oblivion to make a point,
right.
you know? Oh, and by the way, I'm a woman, you need to believe me, and all men are foul. That's kind of where I drew the line because, being a healthy red-blooded woman, I kind of like men. And
Yeah.
I don't
So,
think they're all awful. And
so
I
when my
don't think,
husband
yeah, go ahead.
when when my husband was working on his He actually has a bachelor's in biology and a minor in
Mhm.
chemistry. When he was working on his degree, he had to just have some elective courses, and he saw one about women's studies. Well, the direction that he was going at that time was that he ultimately went to PA school and blah, 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 blah.
Mhm.
But he thought he would take this class, women's studies, because it would, be good, he thought.
Mhm.
And it really wasn't women's studies. It was a professor that absolutely despised men, and everything that men did was wrong.
Mhm.
And if a woman reacted, it was a man's fault to begin with. And
Mhm.
yeah, I
Mhm.
don't think he dropped the class, but it was really hard.
It
Yeah.
had to be eye-opening for him because it was basically a man bashing class. It was like,
And
ho
my
how to
husband,
yeah.
yeah,
Mhm.
loves women.
Your husband is a fair, reasonable like, here's the thing, I mean, most of the
Yeah,
men I know are intelligent, funny, reasonable, and respectful to women, and understand that some of this aggression comes like, I'll say that a few of the men that I deal with understand I have a chip on my shoulder from coming from a business world in a time where you didn't get the respect that you needed, but also noticing that things are changing too,
right.
give me a little bit of grace, but if I'm being too much, they have every right to tell me so, and I take it too, because if you're too much, you're too much. If you're crossing the line, you're crossing the line. Okay, and it seems to be that that's not allowed anymore in certain circles or these microclimates that they're trying to create. But when you're an educator, a Stanford law professor, and that's what
Mm,
you're putting out there, that's wrong. That's going too far. Like, sorry, boo boo. Like, I'm sorry you don't like men, but you're teaching young women, and now you're teaching them to be aggressive. And that, unfortunately, doesn't help us. I don't know how you feel about it, Mandy, but they're not helping us at all with that kind of rhetoric. They are
wh-
making walls and issues and all the stuff that you get the stuff like, "Oh, you're too emotional about it, like, you can't see straight about the issue, you're not thinking clearly, you're not critically thinking." Like,
right.
you're not coming from it from a point of compromise, like, which I am 100% all the time, but then they can point to Michele Dauber and say, "See? See? Like, that's how it is out there." And I'm
Right.
oh, not helping us at all. Not at all.
Yeah, and I'm a pretty um trying to think. Like, I'm not traditional, I'm not religious,
Mm-mm.
but my husband was raised Southern Baptist, and
Very
he
traditional.
he
Mhm.
like opens the door for me. And Um, I see a lot of times women saying stuff like, "Oh my god, that's so insulting. You don't have to open." No, I love
Mhm.
that he opens the door for me.
That's man you know what? I
I
don't even
love
think that traditional. I think that's manners. I
yeah.
like that. Keep doing that. Like, there's nothing
Right.
wrong with that. I'm not gonna judge you for doing that, like, at all. That's
No.
wonderful.
And for
Y
somebody to be like resistant to that, I'm like, I love that I'm married and I have my husband's last name because it's a traditional value that stand for.
Mhm,
And it's just weird that we're so going in opposite direction that, women have to stand by themselves, and, men are
mm-mm,
bad, and,
mm-mm. No,
people like Michelle Dauber out
yeah,
here, wishing death on every man that, steps foot
exactly.
on the entire planet. And it's like, wow,
Exactly. Does that
that's
opening of the door make you any less? No. Because you're strong and independent in your
very,
work, right? You have your own
very
opinion in your house. Your husband lets you speak. You're not tied to a stove or a bed or anything, or
well, so,
like, well, unless you
sometimes.
want to be, okay, unless you want to be. Let's just say that. But I forget who I'm talking to, right, Mandy? Like, it's like you're too much like me. I got to be careful, because it's like we have the freedom of choice, and we're strong enough to know that just someone being polite to us, courteous, like even I have gentlemen that I know that I speak to regularly that call me ma'am. And I think Michelle Dauber's face would fall off if somebody called her ma'am. Okay.
I've had this,
You
okay,
know,
so
and I'm not insulted. I'm like, Wait, is that an age thing?" And they're like, "No, it's a polite thing." And I'm like, "Okay, then fine. You
right.
can speak to me, ma'am." There's such a thing as grace in where they're raised and how people, from whether you're a man or a woman, where you're coming from. You know what I
Right.
mean? And just the way that she's so hard about everything is just, oh my God.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's just to an absolute extreme. I think okay, so I know that she was married and had a child, and unfortunately the daughter is no longer um
I know she was
alive, and
meant right.
that's very sad. But I low key think she's a lesbian, which is fine.
Which is fine,
Be
just accept it and go on
be
with it, but I also
exactly.
heard she had problems in her relationships with her father and her brothers,
Her
okay? Okay,
brother,
listen.
I believe, has some SA.
Alright, I have
Yeah,
brothers that has not happened to, of course, but I have brothers, and I'm not, like, out here male bashing. Like, I
right.
actually appreciate that my brothers kinda informed me about how men think about certain things and actually would, have a relation talk to my brothers about, like, you think differently than I do. Come on, explain it to me a little bit. Like, how'd you get there on that? And stuff like that. Because just the way that we're meant to work together as a man and a woman. Okay, we have biological differences. We have hormonal differences. We have all kinds of differences. They're made to complement each other, not to go into hand-to-hand combat like Michelle Dauber seems to want us to. I mean, um, I just don't know. I just don't get it. And she was quite offensive because, like, not only that, just as a person in general, besides the fact that she's a woman, not helping women's issues, even though she thinks she is.
She's
She really
not.
thinks she is. She thinks she's a champion for my right to be a fucking asshole. There, I said it. Apparently, that is the only thing Michelle's fighting for because if you saw her on Twitter, she was so rude. She was
Yeah.
so demeaning and arrogant and just like if you didn't agree with her, it didn't matter if you were
You got
man, woman,
blocked.
chattel, you got blocked, you got called every name in the book. When she would talk about the Amber Heard Johnny Depp stuff, she didn't talk about the evidence. She didn't talk about facts. She talked about believe Amber and I hope Johnny dies. She literally said stuff like that.
Yeah,
Like
she said
like
a Kentucky funeral, which is
mhm.
getting eaten by rats, I believe is
Exactly. Like
what the reference was. Yeah.
she would put all these references on these horrible torturistic things that could happen to him. And she wished him ill constantly as a human being. And I found that so distasteful because as much as I dislike what she stands for and how she's making me feel and how she's making reasonable women look, she's making it difficult for us. She really is. I'm a woman out here with an opinion and I want to be heard. And Michelle Dauber is getting in the way of people even wanting to do that. Okay. So she causes me some grief, but I still don't wish her that kind of harm. Like, who does that? Like, really? Hmm.
Michelle Dauber does that.
Michelle, I was gonna say Michelle Dauber. Oh wait, and oh wait, there's another one. Oh yes, Proudman. Yeah, Charlotte Proudman. She might do that too. And the what really bothers me, um, is that they are such educated women and know better. And they have
And
influence other young women
right.
in the they have a big platform, and that's what's really bothering me. And that's why I will speak on it because they do have such a large platform and the other side has to be heard. Reasonableness needs to get
Yeah.
out here, you know. Well, mm, let me pull up the first article. Let me pull up the
Okay.
article that we both saw
That got
first
it started.
that got this started.
Hold on. While you're doing that, I was looking for the tweet that got me blocked.
Oh, yeah, you look for that because
Okay.
then you could
I
share your screen too, and then I'll pop it up,
Yeah,
like,
but I
okay.
can just say what it was because
Okay, yeah.
sometimes I can, I'd like to believe that I kind of have a good personality. I'm kind of funny.
I
And
don't
so,
know anyone who doesn't like you, and if you're in my chat
oh,
and you don't
trust me,
like her, it's
there's
okay, just
plenty.
shh, shh, shh,
There's
don't
plenty.
say it because, like, you might get ambushed. But, like, do you have a
More than
haters
you
club?
know.
No, that I could say the same to you, and you know it. Like, I guess
I am
here,
blocked by more people than you
here,
think.
yeah, me too. Like that, I'm blocked by people I've never even spoken to. Tell me
Oh
about
gosh.
that. How does that happen? Like,
Oh,
oh, sorry,
I
that hurt your
okay, I
feeties.
think
Yeah.
to this blocked thing, I think if there's going to be the ability to block, then we should be able to find a location that shows us who blocked us so we can just block them back and move on with life, right?
Well,
Like,
when
I
I
don't care.
do find out I'm blocked, when I go to look for something, I do block them back because I'm like, hey, fair is fair. You're going to look at me, but I can't look at you. Like,
I
that's
do too, but they
creepy.
could have had
That's
me blocked.
creepy. Oh, wait.
Be-
And you know what? You know what's really creepy? Is the person who blocked you and then you go and block them, right? And then they come at you and go, you blocked me. And I'm like,
I've only had
oh,
that
like I
happen
only
once,
did
and
that
it
because
was
you
yeah,
blocked me. Like, fair is fair. Like, that's creepy. You want to look at me, but I can't look at you. Like, what? What? And they're like, oh, okay. And I'm like, they didn't even realize they blocked me. They just were pissed when
right.
they couldn't see my stuff, but I can't see theirs. I'm like, really? Really? Like, that's weird. Get out of here. Like, get out. You're great. That's just silly. I just hope they feel better about it. It don't bother me. I don't care. But
Yep.
yeah, because I
So,
don't
okay,
really, yeah.
so the tweet was, and I tagged you because it got you
Of
blocked.
course. It got me blocked. She tagged me. Okay, I didn't even say anything to Michele Dauber. Not one word yet. Mandy tags me because we're doing shows together, and she comes along and she came and blocked me too.
Do you
Who
remember
got
what I said?
no, go ahead. I think it's a long I know it was something about it was while we were doing the trial, right?
No, I said that we needed to send her a dildo with
Oh, we
extra
did. Oh,
batteries.
yes. And I was like, yes, she needs to watch a couple of shows so I could tell her how to use it. Apparently, somebody has no endorphins going on in their
Yeah,
life.
yeah.
Yes.
I was like,
Yeah,
we
we
need to
did.
send
Okay,
her
all right.
blah
We
blah.
did deserve to get blocked for that. We basically told her that she wasn't having enough fun with herself, to
Yeah,
get
because I
on
was
with
like,
life.
she is so wound up. This woman
She
needs to get laid so bad.
You know what? That's half of Twitter. Come on, let's just admit it.
Oh, that's
Half of Twitter should watch my shows on how to make yourself happy. Seriously, because like they're all just
yeah,
too into
for
this
real.
bullshit. Really. Yeah.
Anywho, so that was the reason, and I got blocked by Cat 10 Barge for saying you don't speak for me, Cat 10 Barf.
You know what? I said that too. I said, Kat, what the hell happened to you? Really,
Right.
seriously. I mean, she's always not really vetted her information. I mean, I used to actually because she was local and she was kind of part of on the fringe of our community, I supported her in the beginning. I did. I
Mhm.
wanted her to get bigger. I thought she wasn't really checking things out as well as she could, but I'm one of those people that try to help her by sending her the real deal before she spoke too much on something, send her the article, whatever, like send her some deets, like, hey, did you see this side of it? But then she just starts ignoring the other side of everything and just
Yeah.
starts going off on all. And now I'm like, nope, nope, Cat. Like you used to, I really had hope for you, boo. Like you don't represent me either. You are like misinformation 101 and towing the line out there on just believe anybody just because she's a woman. Basically, that's the line she's towing,
Right.
and she's doing it. I don't even think she's doing it. And here's the bad part, and I'll probably get crap for saying this, but ask me if I care. Go say it anyway. It's really what I believe. I don't even think Kat believes it.
I don't either.
Kat's doing it because it's media, because the big media is, and because she wants to get big. So she's the worst of the worst. She don't even stand behind Amber Heard and believe her because I know Kat's smart enough to see that evidence. I know she saw it all. Okay, and she don't believe it, and she's just supporting her so that she can ride the coattails of that big old wave of fame.
Well, I
And
mean,
that's sad.
yeah.
That's like, Kat, that makes you worse. Okay, like Michelle Dauber's angry and ignorant. Well, come on, Kat, you know better.
Yeah.
You've got the advantages. Okay, you weren't living in the same world that Michelle Dauber was. All right,
Exactly.
listen, you've had the advantages. You've been living on the other end of it. You know better. You're just using the coattails. You're twisting it to your advantage. That makes you kind of worse in my eyes. I'm disappointed in Kat. I expect it from Michelle Dauber. She's just ignorant, being arrogant and aggressive. But Kat, I'm disappointed in. I truly am.
She's just an old mean
Yeah, yeah.
biatch.
Yeah, the other one's an old mean, got a big
Yeah.
chip on her shoulder that she
Yeah.
but Kat knows better. She really does. And she could make a difference and she's choosing not to.
Right.
And that pisses me off. And I'm disappointed in her, really. Well, those were the two that came at us the most, weren't they, Mandy? Like, we're not allowed to speak like reasonable people out here.
Right.
Because those two will really have at us. But anyway, this is the article. Stanford takes appropriate steps regarding law professors harassing and sexist tweets. Okay, after months of her being on Twitter with this stuff, being very aggressive to anyone that supported Johnny Depp. Let's just be clear which tweets they're talking about. She was very sexist, misandry about anyone that supported Johnny Depp, and she called all of the women that supported Johnny Depp. We were just pirate fans. We were all kinky for pirates with patches, period. We didn't have brains. We didn't look at the evidence, none of that. She just thought we were fans of a movie star. We were nitwits. We were sheep. We were like, we didn't know any better. And
Pick me girls.
yeah, pick me girls, right? We
Yeah.
were just waiting for him to smile at us or something. I mean, these are the things she said. All of this, I'm not making it up. This is all stuff she said out there about all of us. Um,
Yeah, and she
it,
went after Camille Vasquez. That's who she, like, called the pick me girl and was like,
yeah,
you
because of
know
because a professional, successful woman who
yeah,
persuaded a whole jury. Okay, a whole audience actually out here in her with her professionalism and her belief that Johnny was a victim because a woman can't stand up for a man and call him a victim. She
right.
attacked another professional lawyer
Yep,
doing her job, who's doing her job, by the way. Okay, because Johnny deserves legal representation the same as everybody else. And because she represented Johnny and she was the worst of the worst, she belittled her education, her
she put her
her
in the same
abilities.
category with, like, one of Harvey Weinstein's female lawyers. I'm sorry, I can tell that. Hold on.
It's okay. I know
I
you're
just
not. Yeah.
cleared my throat.
Mhm. I know I can hear you. To do what you got to do. But anyway, what the thing is that if you're not with the message that they want to sell, okay, like just like with the Amber Heard, believe me or else, everybody, hi, get or get the heck out of here. It's like that whole group, the whole Me Too. It's only about you got to
It
believe the woman no matter what now, and
and
that's not
it's
fair. It's
Yeah,
not
it's
fair.
so political too. They wanted Amber to write the op-ed at a time where what was going it on? Was it midterm elections or
It was.
something was going on? And it's when Trump was president and they
And we had the
wanted
Harvey Weinstein allegations at
Mhm.
the end, and everybody coming forward.
Yes.
And there was a lot of volatility. Yes, there were some bad things going on in industries where women were oppressed, that there were aggressors like Harvey Weinstein. But that industry alone, what we learned during that is it wasn't just Harvey Weinstein and it wasn't just women. Do you know that during all of that, all those women came forward and when Brandon Fraser came forward and said
Brendan Fraser. Yep.
yeah, someone came forward with the same thing with him and it made him not want to be in the industry anymore, nobody believed him.
Yep.
They actually said, "You're a man, buck up, deal with it." What? What? Like, come on. This is what I'm talking about. Like, you could just shove that under the rug, but not if it was a woman, okay? Now, I know that everything that happened in the Weinstein, I'm not saying anything that was right. That was all wrong. But that doesn't mean Amber Heard is right. Or any woman that
Right.
files charges on a man just out of vengeance. The law is set up to that they've got all the power and that you've got to climb a hill to
Right.
get anything back, and that you get disparaged from the get-go as soon as she opens her mouth, and that's not fair. And that's why the only we have to do more and speak out more to get those kind of things to stop. Like legislation, we talked about this during the trial, right, Mandy? Legislation
Right.
has to happen to protect the accused and the accuser. Like if you're going to say that someone can get a restraining order right away to protect them, You have to protect the person they're putting on it too, because the minute you allow that to happen, all this stuff starts happening to the other person. They lose their job, accusations get made, people start telling stories about them. If they're famous, forget it. They're over their career, they lose their job, everything.
I
Okay.
cannot wait for the respondent to come out, for him to finish his documentary.
That is so amazing. I'm such a supporter of
Greg,
his too. Greg, yeah.
Ellis,
Greg
yes.
Ellis, yes. He
Yep.
lost it. He had to fight for his children and he didn't do anything. Okay. He still has people swatting at him and doing ridiculous stuff because he speaks out on this. But it's right. The laws have to change. They have to be equal for both parties. Okay. You create a child 50-50. That child is still yours 50-50, whether you're still in the partnership or not. So why is it automatically that you have to fight 100% just to be able to see them? Like, it should be the reverse. You should have to fight to keep them away a little bit or do some kind of reasoning, you know. It's not it the system right now is set up that people's lives are getting destroyed that don't need to be. And I know that they meant well when they did it. When they put that women in protection services bill forward in here in our government that allows for the easy TROs right away before you prove anything, you know that what they're trying to do is squash violent situations and get people in a safe place and prevent people from dying. Okay, prevent violence against each other. That's what they were trying to do. And I understand it. But they got to also protect the other party because we're seeing the other shoe now. The other shoe has dropped and we're watching people's lives get destroyed because of it. People are weaponizing it against each other unfairly. Because, you know, right, Mandy, people are shit.
Oh, fuck. Oh,
What
excuse me. Yeah.
people are just shite. They're just shite, however you want to say it. Like they if you give them something to use against another person, they get petty, they get foul. Not everybody's a damn grown up. And we're talking about emotional situations where people feel wronged or abandoned or whatever. And they're going to use stuff like this against each other. And sometimes it takes somebody else from the outside to do something about it. That would be our laws and our legislations and our government and our you know our law enforcement, our legal system. You know, that would be what we have to get to protect both sides of it. You know.
Yeah.
You didn't say that they're crap. I'm saying most people are, Gene. Like when they go, they will weaponize things against each other. You know. Hmm.
Okay. So I'm looking at this article and her face is
Right.
creeping me out. So hurry up.
Is it okay? Okay, so let me move it down a little bit. Let me get Michelle. Anyway, that's who we're talking about. All right. There is a petition which let me drop that for you. Where's my petition? Oh, here's the petition. If you haven't signed it and you still want to sign it after you read up on the issue of Michelle, here is the actual change.org petition that was signed to have her removed from her position. And then I'm not really into cancel culture, but she was influencing people and taking it too far. And she was hiding behind her cloak of a law professor to do it. Okay. Um, but Stanford University is looking into law professor Michele Dauber for comments made on Twitter that some people are calling harassment and sexist. According to Stephen Chen, who is the new Stanford Title IX coordinator, he is the one that is answering all of the complaints. He is the one emailing certain people back and forth now about these allegations. Okay, and he just put this out in December. Okay, we do take allegations of sexual harassment seriously and want to assure you that we are taking appropriate steps in response to your message. That's what he said in the December 2022 email. Chen and the Stanford University were asked to clarify what appropriate steps are happening, but neither has responded. Because let's be real, Stephen Chen is talking about it now, but all of this stemmed forth from last April and March and February and the year before. She's been at it for a while. Okay.
Yeah.
Chen's December Chen's December email was a response to Kursat Pexas, CEO of the Turkish real estate company, who expressed concerns about Dauber's conduct. Now, this all happened prior to what we're going to talk about, this Title IX complaint. That came from Kershaw Pegzog and from another professor. Okay, they jointly filed this Title IX complaint in January because nothing's been done. Nothing's been done. And they're not the only, in all fairness, I must say that Stanford University is not the only one that they're filing the Title IX complaints against. This has been something that Kershaw Pegzog has been actively pursuing, and we'll get to the issue of it in just a minute. His discussion about the complaint can be found on YouTube, and I'm going to give you that video because that was the video that um, I'm going to pop it right here into the chat for you, and then I'll show you the picture of it in a minute. But that's our friend from the DUI guy. Did an interview with him just recently that we were part of the chat of with with Kurtzat rather, and why he filed it and what's been going on and what his issues were. Okay. He later filed a formal complaint because this article was written in January. He filed that complaint against Dauber on January 1st, demanding an investigation against her for extreme gender partisanship and various acts of harassment. Okay, and here is the tweet that we were talking about her going for Camille. Okay, and this was back in
One of
June.
the many.
One of the many. This was June. Okay, June 2nd. Of all the women who
The
suck
day
up,
after.
yeah,
The
the day
day after Johnny won.
after, yeah, she waits till they win and she's mad. It's all Camille's fault. Okay, because of all the women who suck up to male power, women lawyers are the absolute worst of the bunch. Desperate to prove they are real lawyers and understanding that being a woman undermines their identity as lawyers, they throw women under the bus as hard and as fast as they can. That is not what Camille did. Camille represented her client because she believed her client was innocent of the charges of abuse. She believed that he was the abused and he had been a victim of defamation. That's what Camille did. She represented her client. But
Right.
representing her client is throwing all women under the bus. So does that mean Michelle thinks that no woman lawyer can represent a man? Hello?
Pretty much.
Pretty much, right? Right. This
Yeah. I mean,
article
she's
was
a she's a man hater. She hates men. So,
because this article, because the allegations actually encompass both Title IX violations and ethical infractions, the complaint urged a joint jurisdiction between the Stanford Office of Ethics and Compliance and the Title IX office. Okay, so they're trying to say that she's in violation of actually her contracts with Stanford University as a law professor, and also in violation of Title IX um, federal regulations. Like they want to get her on both ends. Okay. The petition was started by Matt Adams, and he claims that Dauber has abused her academic standing to threaten students with purported false sexual assault allegations. Now, this was something that also came up in a side articles that we were reading, that the campaign that Michele Dauber had run to reduce um, the harassment of those reporting essays at the university itself, and trying to reduce the number of those crimes and actually enhance the way that they are reported so that people could get protected, and that if things did happen, that people were meant to pay for it. Okay, but now they're coming out that many of the allegations were false and that
yeah.
people were led to believe certain things that weren't true,
It
and
was a
that kind of, yeah.
believe all women at all costs again.
Again, okay, to the detriment where male students were expelled over it and not given fairness in any. And we're not saying that these things don't happen at college; they absolutely do. But there's got to be a middle line between the accused and the accuser, to where you're not violating either's rights, if innocent. Okay, because there is that if innocent part. Okay, and you can't just believe anything that comes out of anybody's mouth. If a man said it, you're not going to believe it right away, are you? Like, so why? Like,
Right.
right.
I'll be right back.
Mhm.
Keep going.
All right. It's time to let Stanford University know that Professor Michele Dauber's hateful rhetoric is unacceptable. And that's what that petition was all about. And on that petition, it's going to show you a bunch of tweets from Michele Dauber, but they're all gone because Michele Dauber, in answer, back at the I would say like the beginning of the fall, got so much heat she deleted her once she knew that these people were all starting to come at her. She deleted her Twitter. But a lot of it's been saved on a Reddit that I can show you in a few moments. And also, if you just hashtag Michelle Dauber in Twitter, a lot of people captured the actual tweets that she was putting it out. And so like those will be there, but only if they actually took a picture of it and then reposted it. Because if you just retweeted her, they're all gone now, unless you could capture some of them on the Wayback Machine, but not enough. Not enough. Which is going to be a problem if there's going to be sanctions here when they go to research this. They took so long to research these and to actually do anything about the allegations. People have been complaining since prior to June, since prior to the trial actually being over. While the trial was going on, people were complaining to Stanford University about Michelle Dauber, and they did nothing. Okay.
Well,
Dauber
and she
faced, yeah, go ahead.
yeah,
Hmm.
she bragged online somewhere and said basically, yeah, Stanford's got your emails or your blah 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 blah, and pretty
Hmm.
much I'll do whatever I want.
Hmm.
So
Exactly. Like I'll do whatever I want. Like they don't like what, you can't do anything about it. Basically, I'll do what I want.
I
Dauber
think
faced.
she really believed as a, you know, tenure or however long she's been there
Mhm.
that she could just do whatever she wanted and get away with it. So I don't know.
Mhm. Well, yep, like she deleted that Twitter. I thought it was in the fall, but it was actually right after. It was like a week or so after she did the Vasquez tweet.
Oh,
She
when
got
did
so
she
much heat.
delete?
Yeah,
No,
she deleted.
she didn't delete until Elon bought.
Oh, okay, so there you
Yep.
go.
And then
Because
she was like,
it said it
yeah.
was deleted shortly after her criticism of
Yep.
Vasquez and no longer exists. That's what he's saying now, but
Yeah,
I'm
if
not
you went
sure.
into that article, I actually commented because
Mhm.
I'm so
You
rude in
probably
these
did because you
articles.
said, "Hey, dude, no,
I
she
did.
waited for
I was
Elon."
like, "No, she didn't. She went on berating, people for 6 months and
Mhm.
wishing death threats on actual survivors like Rihanna
Uh-huh.
and Johnny Depp."
She
I'm like
did.
c
Mhm.
my response in a lot of these articles all the time are, "I could be a better journalist than you. Like, get your facts straight. This is
Exactly. But it's true
ridiculous."
because remember as Johnny was getting jobs after the trial, she was retweeting them and making these snarky comments about everything he did, about the
Yeah.
tour with Jeff Beck, about the movie that was coming up.
Yep.
Every time there was talk about pirates in negotiations with him or anything, she was actually retweeting all of that with really nasty. I remember that you're right. Yep, when
Dude, I
you're
have
right,
a
you're
sock
right,
account.
Mandy.
I'm
You
not
always
afraid to
I
say it.
remember. I know.
I've
Yeah.
I've had
Yeah.
the same sock account for,
I know. No, you need
3
them.
years.
You need them with somebody like Michelle Dauber is the reason, like, most people have one just to look at it, you know what I mean? And then she's the one that's the other thing, is she was also on the cusp of that with that bot thing with Chris Bowsey. Don't even get me started with that guy.
That's a whole nother
Okay,
one.
that's a whole nother ball of wax that, like, I I don't even wanna get involved in. Let's just say he was wrong, wrong, wrong. Like, he signed up with them. It's all there. The money, you follow the money. He's all out there. I'm gonna find all the bots when they're actually the ones creating all the bots. Okay. What he actually did was prove he actually proved that they're botting. Okay, that they were doing all of this. It's actually insane when you see all of the number of things that happen. A lot of the threats against Michelle Dauber and people like that were coming from their own side as bots to look like ammunition that the Johnny Depp fans were doing it. It's amazing. It was very twisted and very it was an active campaign to discredit the actual support that was on the side on the basis of the evidence. You could see it that the more people started, they just didn't like the idea that you could actually look at something and think of it your own way, and they didn't want to have that. They thought that they had all the power there as far as their big movement, and everybody was just going to believe them. And there was a lot of pushback, and it was based on a few accounts coming out with the evidence, and we all started looking at it. We all started paying attention, and it just grew and got bigger and bigger and bigger. So then they had to make us into some kind of mob, like that we were the aggressors in some way. I don't think
Right.
saying the truth makes you an aggressor. I never called Michelle Dauber a name out on Twitter. I never really attacked her. I always just referred the evidence. I don't know about you. I mean, I know sometimes we get aggravated and things like that, but we normally are always referring to the evidence and just asking people to take a look. When we're not calling them, names and stuff like that if they don't see it the way that we see it. But they didn't like that at all, and there was an active campaign to discredit everybody. Okay.
Is
Um,
Ox teasing me because I only have one sock account?
yes, yes, I think
I only
he is.
have one sock account on Twitter and one sock account on Instagram. I have one Facebook
Mm,
account, one TikTok,
He's really gonna
one
he's really
yeah.
gonna tease me then, because I only had one, and it was my mom's, and I used it to look at people that were blocked at one time, and I don't even use that anymore. That's gone. Like, I don't have one. I'm just me. If they block me, like, I don't care anymore. I'll go, hey Mandy, go get your sock and go look at that for me.
Well, and I only created I only created my I okay, so I created my sock account to get Katie's posts because she's an idiot.
I did have to do that in Instagram because her and Deaf Noodles blocked me, and like that's why we're wearing cat ears here. Is to dig at Deaf Noodles because he's like so thin skinned and sensitive. Like he's just such a never mind. He just, he I put up the hypocrisy meter because they both were telling some story and neither one of them checked the facts, and they were like both together doing the same thing, and we got blocked for that. That was a long time ago. Was that like 2.5 years, like almost 3 years ago? That's a long time
Yeah,
ago. But
probably.
anyway, so anyway, the person who filed the complaint with Cursat Pegas was James Moore. He was a Southern California professor from the University of Southern California. He actually helped him, and he filed the complaint with him against Stanford University for bias against men. And they started working on this last November. They filed
Yeah.
the actual first complaint. Just a regular bias complaint, not the title one that they've got out there now. But that complaint against Stanford was being investigated by the Department of Education Office of Civil Rights, the OCR, for violations of sex discrimination by offering several programs to support women without offering equivalents for men. Okay. Perkos said OCR dismissed a majority of the allegations. However, he intends to vigorously appeal the decision, which is why the Title IX is being filed now in January. Okay, again. Okay. So this was the article. I'm going to take this one down now. Okay, that was the article that kind of stimulated this whole thing. And let me just introduce you to Kurtzog. I'm just gonna. I'm not gonna play the video. I'm gonna ask you guys to go give the DUI guy a view. But
Yeah.
I'm going to show you who we're talking about here. Okay. Let me just make this bigger so you could see his face. He's a very well spoken gentleman. He's been at this for quite a while. He is all into, as a scholar and as an educator, he is all into this right now at Stanford University in his Title IX complaint, which I did read and I'm going to give you a copy of and I'm going to show to you. He listed 27 programs at Stanford University that are women based, very similar to the one Mandy was talking about that her husband
Mhm.
attended inadvertently. Okay. The problem and the reason why Title IX comes in is that many of them are funded by federal government for non-bias, for assistance to get women into STEM programs or minorities and things like that. There are programs all in our federal government to assist people who are hindered from being able to get ahead. Okay. And yes, the reality is that women were held back a lot, okay, from education scenarios and jobs based on education for these reasons, and funding was available. But currently, in the climate we are in now, we're creating let's just call it a reverse bias, okay? Because currently, if you look at the statistics, which I did after looking at this complaint for Title IX, there are more women registered in law school and medical school right now than men because of the funding that is available and the programs that are advancing it. For Stafford University to have 27 special programs that only women can attend and only women can get special funding for creates a reverse bias against the male students. It does. It feeds the beast of Michele Dauber, period. It allows her to function in a way that should not be allowed just based on a human to human uh, way. And as a law professor to students, that her influence would be that strong over them. Okay, and setting a platform up like that to where she is allowed to dictate and to spread that kind of hate and bias is wrong. We wouldn't allow anyone else. We wouldn't allow a man to go in there and do that. Can you imagine, Mandy, what they would be saying if there were 27 male-oriented male only programs at
I
Stanford
mean, there
University?
used to be. So,
Mm, but
back
there's not
when
anymore.
women yeah,
There's none.
back
Right.
when women were, supposed to be at home barefoot and pregnant and,
Right. But that was
and
before women got to college, right? Well, let's just say women
yeah,
are in college now, okay? And there are no men only programs.
yeah, it
Okay.
just kind of has switched a lot of things and a lot of what you would say traditional roles. And for me, it's about equality. My
Mhm.
husband goes to work, I go to work, we cook
Mhm.
dinner, we clean the house, we do this stuff, it's
Mhm.
about, an equal. And I feel that way for everyone. I just feel like
Mhm.
everyone should be on an evil playing field. And why well, hold on. I'm gonna
Mhm.
cough again.
This is true. No, and I want to just put this up.
Yeah.
Anna, I see this. The problem is it makes it harder for real victims. Yes, back to our original point. Absolutely. When you create that kind of environment, yes, it is makes it much more difficult for real victims. Absolutely. Absolutely.
Yeah, I'm
It's
definitely
only
all
victim
about
blaming for people like that when it fits their narrative. Exactly. Oh gosh, the comments. Like you guys understand what we're talking about here. And I'm not trying to say that it wasn't necessary to have those programs. I'm saying that it takes too long to look back at it to make sure that there's not a reverse bias. That if you're going to put things in place to try to even things out, you really do have to watch how things are going so it doesn't happen the other way because problems like Michelle Dauber are real and evident, and the damage that she could be doing is immense. Okay. Too many journalists are pulling their stories from Twitter and not back checking the actual facts. Hello, Kat Tenenberg. Yes, Chin, I agree. You seem to know Cat style pretty well.
so I jumped over to law.stanford.edu
Hmm.
to their directory and it just I was just reading down about her and I wanted to read something. So it
Hmm.
says from 2011 to 2013, Professor Dauber co chaired the Board on Judicial Affairs and helped lead the process that revised Stanford's policy on sexual assault.
Hmm.
She's a nationally respected advocate for improving college and university policies on sexual assault in order to increase compliance with Title IV.
Hmm.
But the problem is that she went too far.
She did.
Yes, there's gender-based violence. Yes, there's a small percentage of more of women who experience, violence. But when you look at the actual numbers and really start studying things, it's closer than you
Hmm.
think, unfortunately. And men too are abused and can be abused. And
Hmm.
it happens way more often. So it's not physical. You aren't getting your, butt kicked and thrown around, but you're
Abuse is
getting
abuse.
demeaned, degraded, slapped across the face, all these
Financially abused or
financial abuse.
reputation abuse. Hmm.
And it's just okay. We want to make programs to focus on certain things like, you know, our
Mhm,
culture or whatever happens in college is
mhm,
okay. That makes so much sense. I support that 100% with facts and evidence to back a claim.
Mhm.
of that happening. You know,
It needs
I
to
was
be
talking
reasonable on both sides, right? Like,
I
it
was
it's like
yeah, I was talking to the husband recently. We were talk about all sorts of stuff. And I said, "It's a scary, scary reality that I feel the need to tell my oldest, you need to keep a daily journal. You need to write down every single thing you do and seriously get consent in writing before you have sex. Or 13 years from now, some
Mhm.
person is going to come along
I'd say
and could say anything. And
mhm.
it, it's it's mind-boggling to me
It
that
is.
people, men or women, because men do it in different ways, are willing to falsely accuse out of vengeance,
Mhm.
anger.
Mhm.
What? You're willing to ruin somebody's life, Amber
Exactly.
Heard, because he left because you were beating him up,
Mhm.
and you will ruin this person's life over it.
And
It
said so. I
blows my
mean,
mind.
blows
Yeah,
my mind that she's actually quoted as saying it repeatedly, and no one pays attention to that. You can find quotes where she actually says it. She says, "I have to do this because he can't win.
basically, yeah,
He can't win by walking away." Yeah, she says it. She says, and like that's, oh boy.
yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that just really gets
Anywho,
me. And I'm and everybody knows that many of you here or that are listening later, you may have seen other coverage that I do, and I cover both sides of these explicitly. Okay, I'm all over the Masterson trial, and I'm for the women coming forward in that
right.
case. Okay, so it's not that I don't think that accusers should be accused. Oh yes, I do, and I do believe in consent is a thing. And then I do believe the statute of limitations needs to be changed for people that are victims and that there needs to be a process. But I also believe it's going to go too far. I believe that Masterson need to face his accusers fairly, and the accusers get to say their side and he gets to defend himself, that there should be a trial. Okay. And the same thing with Marilyn Manson. There's two lawsuits going on there too. Okay. I don't discredit what Rachel Evan Woods did in the past in regards to the legislation. I thought it was all good. But when she used accusations against Marilyn Manson to make her documentary and then found that most of that was all falsified evidence, I mean, you gotta like cock your head and go, really, girl? Did you have to do that? Really?
I
Like,
have a theory on
there's
that
right
one,
and
but
there's wrong.
that's a
Yeah,
whole
no,
nother
there's right.
life.
Right. There's like right and wrong, right? Like, and I don't care, you're female or you're male. It's right or
Right.
wrong what you're doing. And gender doesn't have anything to do with it. And I'm not going to have Michelle Dauber coming at me and saying, I'm less of a woman because I'm not siding with Amber Heard. Like, I'm sorry. I don't believe her. Neither did a full jury. And then a Stanford law professor came out and said, the jury didn't know what they're doing, neither did the judge, nor anybody involved in that case. It was all wrong. Like, she just slammed the whole legal system she represents. How is she teaching people? This is someone who's teaching people the law, and that's how she's talking. That if you don't do what I want, you didn't get it right. Excuse me? Like, who's the one not using critical thinking here? Who's the one
Yeah.
like all up in their fifis? She's calling us sheep and thinking that we're just like fawning over people, and she's just acting so too much. She's too radicalized about it. She's radicalized to the point that she's not helping the situation at all, to the point that no one wants to hear her anymore. If she had a point, it's lost. Do you know what I mean? It's like gone. Because all the good she's doing is getting damaged. All the good she did prior, like you said, about changing the way things were looked at, about representing students and getting those legislations shaped. Those were all good things. Nobody could take that away from her, except for her, and she's doing a damn good job of it, isn't she? By becoming too extreme, you know, just way too extreme, way too uncomfortable in the situation. Anyway, I put this up here because this is our friend, the DUI guy, and that was Kursat Perkog. Perzog. I hope I'm saying his name right. Mm. Yeah, I'm from Jersey. Cut me a break. What do yeah.
Uh,
Anyway,
that's
he is the one who's filing the Title 9 complaint. So, but then I'll take that back down, and that is the video that I dropped there in the link for you. So I'll take that back down again. But yeah, just so much, and we've been wanting to talk about Michelle Dauber for quite a while, just to get it off of our chest because we both had to deal with her for so long. And until this
yeah.
came up, I was kind of afraid. I mean, Forbes article was all the way back in what, November? November 30th was the Forbes article about the Stanford University under investigation for sex bias against men. You know,
Mhm.
basically, the original claim against Stanford included 27 Stanford programs that, Moore and Pegogs, is that it? Pegogs? Is that how to say it? Believed that violated the Title IX. And back then, they said that the Office of Civil Rights officially opened up an investigation into at least five of those programs. Not all of them, but five of them. And those five were Stanford's Women in Business, Women in Stanford Law, Stanford Women in Design, Stanford Society of Women Engineers, and the Gavilan Provost Discretionary Fund, because they were all like exclusive and there was no other fund like it for male students, even though the subject itself should have been balanced for both.
Right.
Okay.
There's
Um,
his Twitter, by the way.
okay. Did you put it in there? Yeah, there you go. That's his Twitter. Okay, so they're claiming that the four organizations are illegal because their names imply that they exclude men, all their members are women, and Stafford offers no similar support programs for men in any of their areas. Their beef with the Provost Fund is that it supports the hiring and retention of female faculty only, but not male faculty in the sciences and in engineering. Now, Stanford University did not respond to requests for comment about the allegations. Now, that was back at the November 30th, December 1st, when Forbes put that out, and there's really not much going on except for that when the article first came out, there was only like 7,000 signatures on the change.org, and since then, it has gone up to 11,000. Okay. In the middle of December, there was another article written about the complaint. Um, where is this one coming from? This is oh, Texas Campus Oh, this is from a Texas college correspondent. Okay, from another college. They're actually talking about the complaint and about, let me put this article in there for you. This is coming back from like Campus News. This is becoming an issue because, you know, Kearsarge Pecogs is filing multiple Title IXs throughout the country based on legislation and funding that's available through the government to produce gender biased programming in colleges. And that he's stating that in order to apply for that money, they actually have to set these up, and it's actually a violation. It's like they have no choice but to make it women only. Okay, but at the same time, because they want the money, but they it's really in violation of one of their other very strict regulations. So it's like a catch 22. And he's calling out the unfairness of it, and I don't blame him. Okay. All they have to do is set up an equivalent for men, but then they would get flack
Right.
for that too, wouldn't they? Can you imagine? Like Stanford's going to say a men only law school class. Like, where how's that gonna fly? That ain't gonna fly, is it? So, like, why? I understand that there was a need. I'm not saying there wasn't. I'm not naive, okay? I'm a woman. I was here. Like, I know that we needed a leg up, but there comes a point where the leg up becomes the reverse bias, and it kind of has to equal out a little bit. It really does. And especially in terms of creating monsters like Michelle. And yeah, I said monster, or like Michelle Dauber, because she's doing more harm than good at this point. I can't see where she's doing any good.
No.
It's like we call all right, we're really going to hear it now. If we call out people like Andrew Tate for radicalizing young men. Why aren't we calling out people like Michelle Dauber for radicalizing young women?
Exactly.
Okay, that's my
Because
point.
if you try to call her out, then you just get obliterated by her hateful vitriol, and you're a misogynist, and you should die, and she's awful, awful.
Yeah. Mhm. I'm just like it is. Yeah, remember when Brilliant says, remember when Amber Heard said, I didn't hit you, I slapped you. Yeah. I didn't punch you, I hit you. Right? Remember?
Yeah.
Hmm. And then record saying, I would go as far as to say get video, audio recording of consent before anything. It's a
It's
shame
no
that I
joke.
would. It's no joke, but like I don't want to live in that world. I don't know about you, Mandy, but like, man, that's rough, right? Like, hmm. Where's the reasonableness anymore? Like, where's damn common sense? Like, I don't know. And as a mother to a son, I hear you. And I have brothers and I have a grandson, and I hear you. Like that has to be rough. How are we supposed to teach them? Like when some women are being so ridiculous. Why are all the people screaming sheep have so much wool to pull over people's? Oh my gosh.
Mhm.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. Yes, Jin. Like, yes, tell him. Why are there shears behind your back then, Record? Like, stop it. We know you're from New Zealand. Knock it off. Okay. I'm not against recording the whole thing. Good to go back together later on. Get out of here. Like, okay, now wait a minute. That's okay. Now you're having a little too much fun with it, because I'm serious. Like, there does need to be proper consent, but does it have to be so rigid? Like, I don't want a contract. How are you supposed to
Right,
get into your feels about something when you have to sign a contract before you do
right.
anything? Like,
So I
all of a
did put
sudden,
a
I'm not feeling it.
right.
Yeah.
I did put a link to an article, and it was about that girl that you and I were talking about backstage, Katie
Mhm.
Myers.
Yes,
She's the one
this
that she's the one that unalived herself.
yes, and this is
And
regards
it's
to
not
Stanford's policies, in
yeah, it's
regard
not
yeah.
directly it's not directly going toward Michelle, but it is going toward Stanford. But
Mhm.
I just saw a part that I wanted to read because I knew
Yes.
about this. People should
Okay.
look this up.
Okay.
So Michelle Dauber was the chair of Stanford's Judicial Affairs from 2011, the year the unregulated Title IV Dear Colleague letter was introduced, to 2013. Look up the Dear Colleague letter. But
Mhm.
then it goes on to say she stated in 2017 or 2018 that the issue of SA brought women out to vote in droves. In other words, instead of setting out to help tackle campus SA, she was using it as a political tool, and the students on campus became her weapons. Dauber's friend Catherine Lahaman um, stated that the department's focus on star athletes brought attention to campus's SA. She threatened to withhold federal funds from any campus that didn't follow the looking glass procedures for discipline using a single investigator model to the jury, judge, and executioner. So you have to look into it more. But basically, it's
Mhm.
the whole believe all women.
Mhm.
And if you don't believe all women, in relation to Campus SA, then federal funds can be withheld, and it's just
And
on top of
that's too
yeah.
rigid. That is actually asking people to form a bias immediately and to not look at truth. And it's actually setting the whole program up to be weaponized, like you said, against
Mhm.
others. And I just can't abide by that because I'm watching people use it. I'm watching people use it in a weapon against each other. Mhm. There has to be the other that, all right. So if you want to set it up to make it that easy, yes, then there has to be sanctions for false accusations, period. There has to be the other shoe to drop against somebody who weaponizes programs like this against individuals. Absolutely. There
Yeah,
must be
listen
sanctions against liars. Okay. There must be
listen to this.
sanctions against using the system to your benefit.
Yeah. Stanford didn't even say anything when Michelle Dauber used social media to call for extreme violence against Brock Turner, the
Nope.
Stanford freshman Olympic swim team hopeful who was framed as an RAPIST by Dauber. Turner's chances at due process were denied from the start. Even his defense attorney, Mike Armstrong, had taught in Dauber's class and given counsel to her family, which he never told his own client of the conflict of interest before taking the case.
Wow.
And that's the link I just put in there.
And
Um,
didn't Brock Turner, wasn't he innocent?
yes.
He was innocent. And
Yep.
they did a whole campaign against him. See, a whole campaign. We can't deny the facts that this thing that she was doing against Johnny Depp and this pro Amber Heard stuff, it comes from a deep place with someone like Michelle Dauber. Now, this is weaponized. Okay, she
Yep.
was trying to do some good. Maybe she started it in the beginning, but when they let her go that far, why? Because they're afraid to call her out because she's going to say, "You're just doing that because I'm a woman." Like, get a backbone, people. You know,
Yep.
because when Michelle Dauber is acting this way because of something deficient in her in what she sees, okay? But I don't believe there's a backbone there behind it. If you push against it with the facts and reasonability, you gotta call her back and set the boundaries. You can't just say just because she's a woman and yes, she's a right, women were oppressed, I can't push back. That's bullshit. That's bullshit. And that's what I'm saying. You got to push back when people are crossing the line, regardless. Okay. That's like falling to that thing that says that hurt people, and that should be okay. Bullshit. Hurting people's wrong.
Hmm.
Whatever the reason you're doing it is, it's still wrong to hurt the other person. And you're allowed to say that. Okay, you don't give people this much rope, like this much leeway. This is what happens, and this is why it's becoming a reverse bias against, like, with the schools, with the education system in general, there with title 9. It's becoming a big issue, and I don't blame, and these guys are going, and we're talking about it, and here's the other side of the coin. Everybody's going to come at these guys for filing that. They're gonna
Yep.
be, "Oh, you're just whining because you can't get a free ride. Oh, you're just whining because, like, women are now got a voice." They're not whining about women having a voice. No, they're not. They want women. I bet you they both have strong women in their life. I bet you who knows? They might raise daughters. They might have lots of people in life. You don't know that. They're not out here bashing women. Not once did they say anything about the fact, they understand why the programs were started. They're saying you got to look at it now because the percentages have switched. When we look at the percentages of abuse, okay, 1 in 3 women will be abused at some time in her life. Okay. What do you think the percentage of a man for a man is? It's 1 in 5. They're not that far apart, are they? It's still too great a number. We don't know about the men know that much. And there are not as many programs to help build them up, but they're not coming forward. Why would they? They're always the accused. It's gonna, right?
Yeah.
They go to other men, and the men say, "Hey, buck up, buttercup," like they did to Brandon Fraser. They said, "Oh, get over yourself," you know?
So
Yeah.
ridiculous. So I
It's just
just noticed that that article that I linked in there
Mhm.
was written by a woman named Claire Best, and Claire was on the DUI guys channel last week or the week before.
Yeah, she was.
Yeah, she's cute too.
Mhm. And she's been out there speaking the same as Kurtzak. They've both been taking the network. They have a lot to say about this, and you should, follow Claire based on that also. She's writing some good articles. She comes from the same kind of place as far as the reverse bias happening, in that it's
Right.
not really beneficial to women in general being taken for equality. That's not equality. When you put one over the other, that's not equality. Okay, and it's just not right. Mhm. I agree, just me. There seems to be more shame put on them. I know women feel shame too, like you asked for it. We always like get that kind of stuff, but the men are like, oh, you let that happen, like to them, or like it couldn't possibly be. Well, hey, people hurt each other. And that's what's going to stop. It doesn't have abuse doesn't have a gender. It's abuse either way.
Right. Oh, so I have to tell you because I know, and I said this to my husband. So there's another one that I saw come across recently, and
Mhm.
I was like, "Oh my God," because I just believe everybody needs to keep their hands to themselves. That's just
Mhm.
my thing.
Mhm.
But obviously, you know that I'm a huge sports person, so
Uh-huh.
I follow like everything sports,
Mhm.
and I see this thing, and mind you, I don't even like this person. So let me preface with saying I do not like this person.
Okay.
So I saw a story pop up about Dana White. So he's with
Mhm.
the UFC, I think. I think
Mhm.
he's a pompous ass. I really do. I don't care for the man at all. Every time I hear him talk, I want to gouge my ears out with like a fork.
Mhm.
But something about him hitting his wife, and I was like, oh shit, that's never good. And I watch the video. Okay, first of all, she slaps the shit out of him, like, she gets some good contact, and then he kind of just pops her back, and I was like, "Okay, all bad. No, why are we doing this?
Right.
But why did you just slap your husband?"
Like, why is
And
she laying hands on him and then he's
I
laying hands
think there
on
was
her? Right.
alcohol involved and, blah,
Mhm.
blah, 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 but the video I saw, like, she made contact.
Okay, so
Like,
basically we got like they're both wrong, but he's gonna be taking the hit, right? Because he hit her back.
yes, I'm just like, "Keep your hands to yourself, please, God." Yeah, yeah.
I'm not
So
advocating that he should pop her, but I'm like, she shouldn't be laying hands on him either. It goes both ways. You don't
right,
have to take
and I
it,
mean,
But what
we're
did they expect
we're
him to do? Like if he would have hog tied her or something, he'd have like false imprisonment charges on him or something.
right,
Like
and I'm like, You should have probably walked away." I mean, be the bigger person, walk away. That would be ideally what would happen in that scenario. But I don't know, sometimes I think, well, first of all, you add alcohol into it, which I don't drink, so there's reasons I don't drink. But
he just
she
lost
got
his career
seriously, when
though.
we get off here, look it up. Like, she, bam, got him good,
I know,
and it
but
was
what
almost like a reaction back, like, "What did you just do? Hit me?" Boom. So it's not
and I'm not going to
okay.
say either one was right, but here's the
Yeah.
reality of it. There's policies where he just lost his career because they're not going to be able to stand behind him because he just hit a
Oh,
woman on film
dude is
and they're
canceled.
going to boot him. He
Canceled.
just canceled. He's
Yeah.
gone. And she did it. Okay, they both did it to each other, and whoever
Yep.
leaked it, like this is the kind of weaponizing of stuff that I'm talking about. First of all, they're both wrong. They shouldn't I get mad and I talk about smacking somebody or something like that, but you don't actually physically the people in your life go around beating on them. That's not normal. Okay, that's not normal. Don't be doing it. And I realize maybe you said drinking or whatever is involved,
Right.
but
Yeah.
he just definitely lost his career over it. Period.
Well, yeah, and it's stupid. Stupid, stupid. Yeah, like, so this is really funny. One day, one of my daughters, I have teenage daughters.
Uh-huh.
This was a few years ago, and the one that's 20 now was like standing in front of me, and it was just like, and I
Mhm.
said her name. I said, sometimes when you speak to me like this, I picture grabbing you by the side of the head and slamming your head on the wall. And she was
Mhm.
like, "Oh my God, Mom, I can't believe you would even say that." I'm like, "But did
I
I
just
do it?"
No, you didn't do it. You just said it. I used to say that I wish there was an island I could send mine to until she was 21. Like parents have thoughts like that. If you've raised teenagers, like come on, nobody we have like you're a saint if you didn't. Like
Ugh.
they do, right, Mandy? They just like go on, they run them, like they are meant to challenge us. Isn't that part of how they're growing up? They're coming into their own. They're gonna push on us. We're their safe space. We're the people they get to push around while they test all these stuff out. It's
Right.
tiring. It's aggravating. It is downright ornery sometimes, like, why, geez,
And
like
before anybody
especially when
freaks
you
out,
put
just
the
know
roof
that
over their head and you're
I've
feeding
never
them and
yeah,
clothing them and giving them everything, and then they're like, "But I'm my own person." I'm like, "Yeah, you are you?
pay
Like,
the rent.
you are?
So
Yeah, where's my rent money, bitch?"
y
Like, you know
yeah,
what?
and
It's like,
mind you,
yeah, I have
I
my own
I
mind. I have my own thoughts. I can do what I want. And I'm like, yeah,
yeah,
you can. As soon as you're in your own house with your own bills and paying your own way, you can do everything you want.
right.
Absolutely. And I swore I
Yeah,
would never say that when my mom used to say it to me. But
mm,
damn, if you don't end up saying it as soon as you hit the teenage years. Like, I
right,
understand it now. I totally do. I do. You know,
yeah,
best we can do is let them take care, help teach them to take care of themselves, you know, and, and
yeah.
to get out there with their own minds. I do believe in them having their own minds, but damn, is it tiring? I feel you. I feel you.
Especially when the youngest one is just like me. She just got her,
Oh,
nose pierced on the bottom part. What's it
mm-hmm.
called right there?
The the
Yes, the
septum.
septum.
Yeah.
But she still loves me enough that she values my opinion. So she has this little tiny round hook with like a diamond in it, not
Mm-hmm.
one of those big, huge monster things that hang
Oh,
out.
oh,
And
yeah.
then my other one got her first tattoos. So they're definitely my children.
Okay, cool. There you go. Yeah. Yeah.
Anywho,
Hey,
did you
you know what?
have,
What? Go ahead.
go
I'm
ahead.
sorry.
I
I
was
was
going to
gonna
say,
say
did
this
you have
comment.
anything else? Yeah.
I do. This comment here from Just Me Mimi. She said, I can't abide legitimate criticism of females being dismissed as misogyny. Exactly.
Right.
Like if they're wrong, they're wrong. It's not misogyny to say that something is wrong or push back when boundaries are being crossed and it's too much or going too far. I agree. I couldn't agree more. Like actually with that. And then Brilliant brought up a good point here. He's about to fight with White, okay, with his partner. Walking away still doesn't stop the abuse. He should have reported her without retaliation, but then you're trained to swing back. I agree. Reactions are a thing. It was reaction, and if there was things going on, I'm not in support of either of them actually at this point. I don't know what caused it, but hey, there's just too much of it. There's just definitely too much of it going on. But the fact that it's being weaponized now, and he's just definitely because of how the climate is out there, he's lost his career over
Yeah.
it pretty much. I hate to see it, and it's going to cause a lot of discourse between both sides fighting on it back and forth. And
Yeah.
I can kind of see where he might be coming from. I don't think you would hope, I would hope if it was my brother that he would find another way than putting him only for the case of what's gonna happen to him if he actually lays hands on her.
Yeah.
I think
And
he
I
should protect
think they're
himself.
fine. I
I
think
do,
that
and he has no
they've
right to
been
get
together
hit.
like 30 years, I think. Let me look. A long
Mhm.
time.
Yeah, like there's no way he should be like we should say that she should be allowed to hit him. That's not right. But we know what's going to happen to him if he hits back. And that's what I would be advocating my brothers or my grandson to protect themselves from. And that's the difficult part, is because these things are happening to them and they cannot defend themselves. And even if they do defend themselves in any way, it's made more of than what it is, you know.
Yeah, they've been married since 1996.
Okay,
So
so
I
they're
think
pretty
I
used to
don't
each
think this
other.
is something that has happened before from the reports that came out. And it was just somebody said something smart, somebody slapped back, and
I
they're
know, but
fine. They're
why would
moving on.
somebody release that footage? Like, that's
Because
crazy.
people, oh, that's a whole
I
nother
know that's
life.
a whole
Like,
nother thing. Somebody wanted his slot, or somebody's going for divorce and using it. Like, I don't
I
know.
think
Yeah.
somebody said it was new. Who was it? Let me go up. That was on New Year's Eve.
Yep. Yeah, I think Jin said that. That was
Yeah,
yep,
Jinsu
New
said
Year's Eve.
that. Yeah, so I'm just it's unfortunate. People make mistakes. I hope that they,
Mm.
work through it and people stay out of their business, but that's not going to happen.
Yep. Yep, it definitely is. Well, this was therapeutic for me, Mindy. I finally got the woman kind of out of my system a little bit. I think I dropped all the links that we need to. Everything is in the description below. As far as the Reddit where you can go look at her tweets, like so that you know that Mandy and I aren't just talking about like for no reason at all. You can go read it all for yourself if you like. There's the articles, there's the DUI guys video. Oh, and the one thing that I didn't drop in the chat was the actual complaint. If you're so legal minded that you want to read it, there it is. That is
Yes.
the actual complaint, which is also listed below. Because I like to source you all with everything to where I'm coming from and what we
Yeah.
saw about it. And just so that we can have a general discussion. I didn't want to read it to you. It's boring. But you will be when you see the legal precedent in there, you'll see where he's coming from, and that there are vehicles that can be used to help keep this in check. Um Oh, Anna thinks that it's gonna be blown up because lots of people aren't his fans, and that's a
Oh,
shame. Because right is right. I mean, he was protecting himself, it sounds like. And Record says, I don't like the guy because of how he treats or pays his fighters, and he's now trying to start an incredibly dangerous slapping league. But that shouldn't have happened. Oh, well, maybe maybe the people who leaked it are people that are trying to like pull him back. I don't know. Who knows? But either way, it's a very it's going to be a twisted situation now because he raised hands. That's unfortunate. It is. And then they'll be saying, right, Mindy, victim shaming because I called it unfortunate that she got hit instead of a crime. But
yeah,
you
right.
told me that she beat the crap out of him first. So, like, spare me, people. Spare
I
me the
mean,
DM. Don't come for me. Like, come on. Yeah. Hmm. That's not victim shaming. They're both victims here. Yes?
victims of their own stupidity.
Exactly. Of being, drunk and ignorant or whatever, or letting their emotions carry them away. Both of them for laying hands on each other. Definitely both. Yeah. Of victims of each other and themselves not doing the right thing. I agree. Well, anything you want to end with, man?
No, it's good to see y'all again.
It is. I love hearing your voice out here. Mhm.
I
Mm.
think that yeah, I think I'll have to talk to her, but there was a little tiny bit of talk about Chesh, or I guess she
Mhm.
goes, what does she go by now? Vic Chesh, Vic Chesh.
It's Chesh. It's Chesh
Um,
on her channel, but we all know her Vic, Chesh,
I think her name's beautiful, so I wish I could
Yeah,
call her by name.
Cheshire. Yeah.
Um,
She has a beautiful name. Yes, she does.
yeah,
Mhm.
we were talking in tweeting
Mhm.
just about so my mother's boyfriend is in the cannabis industry,
Mhm.
and I had asked her if she gave Puck like animal CBD.
Oh, okay. So
So we
you
kind of got talking about that a little bit, and then I sent her a scientific study. So that might be something that I might
Oh, then
do
then
that's
we
coming
might
up
have you
to
that would be wonderful. Yes,
that
because I know
she asked me about that, and
yeah.
I thought, I'm not a huge fan of the being live, but I think you popped my cherry enough during the trial that
Yeah, I'm
I'm
getting a terrible reputation for that out here, but I like it. I like it. I'm the YouTube cherry popper. Yes. Because you know what I do? That's why I am right here. I believe that there are a lot of voices that can contribute to the conversations out here on YouTube. Reasonable people, which I think you're one of them, well researched, okay, well educated, with a good opinion, not out here trying to hurt anybody. So, yes, if you get the opportunity to speak on a subject that you're familiar with, that you believe about, I hope you do it. I really do, Mandy.
thanks.
I
So I
do.
will let you know. I have to
Yes,
talk
because
to her.
I will be
So
there. I will be there in that chat. I support Cheshire to have her voice
I do
also.
too. I love her.
Yes. But so
A lot of
yeah.
See, here's the funny thing with me is I'm super busy, and
Mhm.
so a lot of times I'm there and you all don't even know I'm there.
That's how it's been for me lately. Don't think I'm like I don't support you guys all anymore out on YouTube. Like I'm all into myself or whatever. I'm just like I'm either like editing or preparing and researching. Right now, have you seen, Mandy? All the cases are popping up. Everybody's in
Oh
trial
my
now. I
gosh,
can't even
jury
split my town.
selection.
And
Yep.
they take 6, 7 hour videos that I got to listen to, and I got to hear all of this to pick up the details and stuff because, I like to have my research. I like to have a foundation for what I'm talking about. I'm not going to do anything fly by night. And it takes a lot, but I do listen to a lot of the video. I'm really on playback with most of them anymore.
Yeah.
But I very rarely make a live, and when I do, I could just go in, say hi for a few minutes. I can't really stay the whole time usually, but I
Yep.
try. I try to go back and listen. Chess just did a really good one with a bunch of my atheist friends up there and
Yeah.
Chris Shelton, and I enjoyed that very, very much.
See,
But
I listen to everything on like 1.25 speed because I
mhm,
think really fast most of the time. It's the evening, you guys. I'm a little slower in the evening
mhm,
for, obvious reasons. Puff,
mm,
puff, pass. but
exactly. No, but I do hope
but
you get
during
to
the
do
day, I'm
that.
like,
Exactly. I do hope you get to do that with Chesh though, because I know
thanks.
that could be helpful. I know she's looking at things to help with Puck, and it could be helpful for other ones who have animals that are suffering in some
Well,
way
it's not only
with
animals
pain.
too, it's just
It's
people.
just people in general. Yes.
Mammals have a whole
Mhm,
entire system in their body that nobody knows about. I mean, let's
exactly.
be real. So,
Hmm. And that
anywho,
we do.
yep, I'm gonna
Good.
eat 'cause I didn't
Nope.
earlier,
You do
and
that. I'm going to sign off. I thank everybody for being here. Thank you, Mandy, for last minute coming and doing with me. And
you're
we got this
welcome.
all done. And I hope everybody just takes a good look at it and understands that it's not just women bashing that this man is doing, that there might be an issue here. So just check it out. And let's all just try to be a little kinder to each other and less biased in general would be nice. But,
Right.
but thanks. I'm going to put the outro on again. As far as for me, I will see you all again on Thursday. Okay. And Friday, and Saturday, and Sunday. So just check the back of the channel. I'm not going to go through all that. Like, subscribe, do the whole YouTube things. You know what to do, people. I don't need to tell you. Okay. Let's go. Thanks again, Mandy. Everybody
Of
have a good
course.
night. Okay.
Night.
Good night.
Night, all.